Hey everyone, it's Ryan. Welcome back to Draft of the Future. I'm here to talk about my Week 6 player updates. So first, right into Cleve Lubin. Cleve Lubin had 4 pressures and a sack. He was solid against the run. They moved him inside a lot during this game, but again, he was still a force in this game. He was causing a lot of pressure and making the quarterbacks uncomfortable, like always. Isaiah Nwokobia. So this was a bit of a bounce back game. He had 7 tackles and a pass breakup, but did miss a couple tackles. They used him on nearly every snap. Dude did not get a breather pretty much the entire game. Again, his athleticism didn't look as great still, but he did have a bounce back game, performed pretty well there. Speaking of bounce back games, we've got Cade Klubnik. He looked like himself again. He was incredibly efficient, made quick decisions. Now, my question with that is, was it because North Carolina is really bad? Was it because the pressure is no longer there because the team's performing so poorly, so he can only get better? I don't really know. So I'm not going to get baited into yet because, again, that's one really good performance out of a somewhat shaky season so far. D'Angelo Pons had no game. Whit Weeks had no game. Dante Corleone, he came back and he was noticed. He was still somewhat injured, so you can definitely tell that, but he was definitely plugging up the middle. Cincinnati's run defense was clearly improved with him back. And I know he wasn't fully himself, and he joked about, how they were going to celebrate the massive upset that they had. And he said he's just going home, and that the Tylenol wore off. So, he's still struggling with some injuries, but he did look pretty solid, especially against the run. Darius Taylor played a team that was just too good. Ohio State is best team in the country. Darius Taylor only got 15 snaps, and the team was behind a lot. He wasn't very effective in those 15 snaps. His grade was fine, but overall it was just a rough game for the Minnesota offense. Getting into Joe Royer, my tight end out of Cincinnati, he had a really great game as a blocker. He did have minimal targets, but he was impactful. It feels like it's frustrating watching him, especially as a Bearcats fan and as someone who has rooted for this guy. It feels like he's going to go to the league and just be unlocked, and people are going to be like, wow, where did this come from? And that's just because it doesn't seem like they're giving him enough targets. They're using him well enough in their offense. So we'll see. Especially they have a good offensive line. They don't need him in there as a blocker as much as they are. So definitely be interesting to see what happens at the next level. But I think he's going to be still a great tight end. Eric McAllister out of TCU. Last week he got a little injured. This week he led the team with 2 touchdowns and 65 yards. He had a really nice contested catch. And he's looking like he's getting a little more comfortable now, being more of a focal point of the offense. And so that's really nice to see. I'll be interested to see what he does for the rest of the season. I'm hoping the last few games have been a sign of what's to come and not like a flash in the pan. Now, Taron Tayo, the guard out of Cincinnati, he looked much better in the run this week against a pretty big team. Dominic Orange was sometimes lined up opposite of him, and they looked good. He did have one really bad penalty that took away a big play, but I kind of believe it was on the quarterback a little bit for holding onto the ball too long. So I don't really know there. But Cincinnati's offensive line as a whole was the key to that game, and his play was definitely a big part of that win. Brian Parker the second in week 6. I mean, it's getting to be a broken record at this point. He was dominant against the run. He only allowed 3 pressures. It wasn't his best game in pass pro, but again, he was still one of the top graded. He was still the top graded player on offense for their team. He is, in my opinion, one of the most well-rounded offensive linemen in college football this year. I think it's going to be interesting to see what the league does with him, whether they're going to make him a guard, center, or somebody's going to try him to keep him at tackle. I think it's probably going to be interior, but we'll see. Absolutely love him as a player and really hope that he is, drafted by a team that uses him early and often. All right, week 6, Mark Gronowski, no game there. David Bailey, it feels like he's getting better every week and affects the game at just an absolutely insane level. This week he had 11 pressures, 2 sacks, 3 QB hits. It's honestly getting absurd. He's a first-round talent, clear as day. And I would be very surprised if he doesn't go first round. But he's just been one of the most dominant pass rushers in all of football. John Michael Gillenborg, tight end out of Wyoming, sat due to an injury. And that wraps up this week. If you didn't already see, we sat down with Eric Richards, who's the National Scouting Director for the U.S. Navy All-American Football Game. Please go and look at that. If you are even remotely interested in scouting or college football, I learned so much about scouting and youth football and what it really means to be in the youth football world. From him, I feel like I'm better prepared as a parent of someone that plays football. So it was just such an incredible experience, and he gave us so much wisdom in such a short period of time. So make sure you go check that out. And we'll be going live this week. We would have already gone live this week. So make sure you check that out as well. And be on the lookout going forward for some hopefully new player interviews. And always like and subscribe. Thanks.